guest is the Senior Director of Government Affairs for the National Taxpayers Union, Thomas Aiello. Thomas, welcome to the program.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I have to tell you, I think it's ludicrous that she thinks that people in Iraq actually can identify with Sesame Street. This is the prime problem that Democrats have, which is they don't understand American culture. They're Americans. They literally don't understand the land from which they have sprung up. Sesame Street is about characters which are human beings with their hand up a puppet's back, and they're being funny with American cultural reference points that only American children can understand. So unless Sesame Street in Iraq is all Iraqi cultural references, which I'm pretty sure it's not, why would we be funding it? Like, I just don't get why Democrats are so into this nonsense.
Yeah, for some reason, they always find themselves on the other side of an 80-20 issue, right? These are taxpayer dollars. These are our dollars. We want them to stay here in America, not go abroad. And I think that's a very fair and reasonable thing that we should expect of the money that we send to Washington. And look, at the end of the day, a lot of these are wasteful programs, part of a bloated government funding system that has led us to $37 trillion worth of debt. So we're really happy to see that the Senate advance the rescissions package, which will hopefully save about $9 billion. It's a small step in the right direction, but anytime we're talking about cutting back wasteful taxpayer dollars, it's a good conversation to have.
It's an excellent conversation to have. And I just want to point out, in your history, like your prior work, before you joined National Taxpayers Union, you were a director at DCI Group. You specialized in leveraging relationships with think tanks and advocacy groups. You were advancing client objectives. And so in order to do that, you had to understand your client's objectives. So for Democrats, they lack the understanding of their client. The client of the Democrats is the American people, their constituents who vote for them, and independents, and potentially some Republicans who might find their ideas good. But they don't have an ability to actually advance client objectives, meet goals, set targets, communicate effectively with their base, because they've radicalized multiple tens of millions of Americans against the very concept of this country. And then the rest of the Americans are sitting back going, I don't know if I can deal with that. And they're like, yes, you can. And here's why. And they're trying to convince you to take on a position that goes like, it's you trying to convince me to set fire to my house. I would be against that. But you would keep trying to convince me. That's the Democrats and their policies.
Yeah, it's the truth. And look, we're $37 trillion in debt. We should be focusing on saving money in the next fiscal year. And this rescissions bill is getting a lot of attention because it cuts back $9 billion. Obviously, it'll have to go back to the House if they change it. So hopefully we'll have this to the president's desk by Friday. I'm pretty confident that we will. But at the same time, $9 billion is not a lot of money. But at the same time, Congress right now is working on allocating taxpayer dollars for the next fiscal year, right? This is money that'll go to fund the Pentagon, the Department of Health and Human Services, education, all of them. Speaker Johnson and Appropriations Chairman Cole have said we want to spend less money next year than we did this year. We could be talking about tens of billions of dollars in savings. So when you take that into account, plus potential future rescissions packages that the administration can send over, we could be looking at, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of savings. That's a lot of money. So when you take those savings into account, plus the economic growth that'll come from bigger paychecks thanks to the one big beautiful bill and deregulation, all of that will fuel more tax revenue and more job creation. So you could really see how the administration and Republicans are viewing this as we need a whole of government approach to how we solve our debt problem. And with those three things, I think we can get there.
So I love the fact that you're talking about the rescissions package, which, admittedly, for most of us, especially if we, come out of the Tea Party movement, as I have, I don't see $9 billion as being anything to crow about. It feels like it's almost a half measure, but we have to give congressional members who've been trained to appropriate and spend and borrow the opportunity to kind of take a tentative step forward, and then maybe they take a jump next time. But while they're moving slowly, President Trump is moving at the speed of light. $100 billion in tariff revenue. DOGE has now saved the American people $190 billion. The numbers could be much, much larger, and they will be, I think, once we can just get going. I feel like they just need to get this first one under their belt.
Yeah, I think the way the administration is approaching it is this is a trial balloon. They want to see if Congress is serious about cutting spending, and if they are serious, they'll pass this package, which I really am confident that they will. And then the administration will send over future packages. So when you tally them all up, we think it could total a lot of money. But at the same time, look, since the rescissions package passed the House on June 10th, the United States has added almost $400 billion to the national debt. That's almost $11 billion a day. So we really need to get serious about this problem, right? The rescissions package is a small step in the right direction, but we need structural change for how we address our funding systems. And look, tariffs might be, in the short term, one way to address it. We still think that that's added tax revenue. It's more taxes on the American consumer. But, hopefully over time, the strategy will be clear so we can reduce tariffs and at the end of the day, reduce spending across the board.
So reducing tariffs, which is, they're a negotiation tool. So bringing in tariff revenue, that's great for now, but we want to see that actually switch to manufacturing jobs brought back into the homeland, and also our goods and services being allowed to be sold in markets where they're currently blocked out. I think it's brilliant on his part, and he is really leading here. I'm hoping that your words, your lips to God's ears, we get this rescissions package passed, and then we can look forward to more cuts and more reduced spending. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you.